Hey, what's up, you guys? It's your boy Brad here from Big MX Radio. First and foremost, I want to let everybody here on YouTube know that I'll be making a huge push to really establish Big MX Radio as as a show on YouTube. I really want to be able to sort of interact with this community. I want to have more content, video content moving forward. And yeah, as we sort of move forward with that, it's going to get better. It's going to get more polished, and we're going to be able to bring some more value. If you enjoyed this show, I hope that you would share it with a like-minded individual who loves motocross like I do, and hopefully we can really make something out of this. I love the sport. I've been covering it for 10 years now, and I'm proud to say that in 2024, I was able to secure a media credential for Supercross, Outdoor Nationals, as well as MXGP, and of course, up here in Canada, where I actually was the play-by-play announcer, the PA announcing at my local national. So wear a lot of different hats as far as motocross go, and I will be riding later on. So a practitioner of the sport, as well as a huge fan of the sport, and of course, I have been covering it for a long period of time, over 1,000 episodes in on Big MX Radio, and I will link a link to all of the podcasts. You can go back into the archives and listen to some old shows, some new shows. I've got a really interesting podcast series that I've been doing recently with Andrew Hobson, otherwise known as Hoppo. He works over at KTM. He's from Australia. He worked at Pro Circuit for, better part of 15 years before going back to Australia for a short period of time. Now he's back. He's working at KTM. Basically, if you have an engine that just gets completely grenaded and it needs to go back to KTM to get serviced, he's the one who builds it for you. He obviously worked on a number of race teams in the past, and including with Factory Connection, where Travis Preston was able to win the last championship on a CR 125 in the United States. As you can tell, I'm a bit of a moto rain man, if you will. I kind of pull out some random facts and stats just kind of off the top of my head. That's always kind of been my it's kind of ace in the hole as far as covering the sport, is just kind of having that a lot of that knowledge is sort of on tap, and that just goes to like kind of I like what I would credit that to is the fact that I've just like when I was a kid, I used to just watch and rewatch a lot of this stuff. And yeah, I started my podcast in 2014, and we've never looked back. So let's talk a little bit about SMX. The SMX playoffs are here, one round in the books. It's in the rearview mirror, but it's still fresh in our minds. So let's talk about it. Starting with the 250 class, I was extremely impressed, as I think everybody should, with Hayden Deegan. His riding, his racecraft, his line selection, the way he dissected the track in the most aggressive way that I think you can. I would honestly say it was probably more fun to watch him ride than it was to even watch anybody in the 450 class. He was a real pleasure to be able to see do his thing. And yeah, like you can't take anything away from the guy. I think like obviously some of the things that he says on the podium, some people love it, some people don't. And I think that's good for sport in general. Like if you look at any successful sport, you have athletes that are polarizing. Well, people who like kind of go against the grain a little bit, and some people absolutely love it, and some people hate it. Now, when you talk about Hayden Deegan, he's got this massive fan base, and I for those who didn't watch the YouTube channel, maybe they still don't. I put it to you this way, and I'm one of those people. I did not watch the Deegans, like the whole chronological thing all the way through the years. But think about it in the fact that if you were a fan of the Deegans and Hayden and the whole family, you literally watched this kid grow up from like a toddler, very young. I think they started the YouTube when he was about 4 or 5, maybe. You saw him on 50s, you saw him on 65s, you saw him like graduate to 85s. Like this, like literally, you've seen this kid grow up in front of your eyes. And it's one thing to see someone grow up, like, and we've seen a lot of athletes sort of like grow up through the years of like you see them on 50s, like a Ryder D or Adam Cianciarulo, Eli Tomac, basically like in the media era, which is I guess like I would consider that basically from 2000 or 1995 onward, where you have like a lot of footage, a lot of photos of guys like Mike Alessi Ryan Villapoto, Davey Millsaps, Zach Osborne coming up through the years. There's a lot of footage, and that's mainly thanks to companies like Moto Playground and Verb Moto, who have done an amazing job capturing this stuff. You've been able to watch these kids sort of grow up, but more so in the case of Hayden Deegan, because like that's the only focus, or the Deegans were the only focus of that YouTube channel. And think about it in the fact that you've seen this kid grow up all the way through. And it's one thing to watch like that kid turn pro and you're proud and you're cool, you think that's cool to see. But then on top of that, the kid is fast. The kid is brash. The kid is like talks all kinds of shit and backs it up. And there's a certain brand of person, or the certain kind of person who really just connects with that. Like I personally, not so much, but I can totally see that there would be people who absolutely just eat that up and they love it and they're like kind of like, we'll stick it to the man sort of attitude towards it. And I think that's really neat. So with that being said, I think it's really, really cool for those fans to be able to see Hayden turned pro. He had his adversity right off the hop. And for those who don't remember, his first national, he ends up trying to jump something that probably that I don't know if it was the smartest thing to jump in the entire world, but either way, he's always been that way. He's gonna send it. He's gonna do it for the fans. The bike ends up cartwheeling, steam everywhere, and that essentially was like sort of like what kicked off his career. And I think there's a lot of people who maybe that like they don't like the Deegans, or they don't like what he sort of represents, or how he carries himself, and they're like, good, I'm glad that kid kind of got his or something like that. And that again that's good for the sport. You have people who are like, oh, I wanted to see him do well and he didn't, that sucks. And there's other people who like they'll watch just because of it, and eyeballs turns into sales, and that's what sort of continues this whole the motocross economy to move forward and all that fun stuff. So he had the adversity, he faced it, he overcame it, and then since then it has been just an absolute ascension to some really impressive rides. He literally rode one round of Supercross Futures as an amateur. The very next weekend, he's in Dallas. I think it was Arlington, Texas, I believe, for the first round of the 2022 Supercross Championship. He basically just went from amateur. Now I'm going to start racing pro. He was successful right off the hop, more successful than a lot of other amateurs right out, like right coming out. And of course, there are guys who've got like Adam Cianciarulo won right away, Trey Kennard won right away. There's a lot of guys who've run up front, but there's also a lot of guys who haven't. And for him to have all that pressure and do exactly that, I was very impressed with what I saw from Hayden. And it's only gotten better. Now it can be argued that in North America, there is nobody faster on a 250F. Period. Full stop. Nobody else in North America who's racing professionally is faster than Hayden Deegan. And that's pretty impressive to see, because for a guy who talks the talk and he absolutely walks the walk. You can't fake fitness. You can't fake speed. You can't fake confidence on the motorcycle and the body language needed to assert yourself and grab these wins. He seems to be racing and getting these results at will, which is very scary for the rest of his competition, because he's the kind of guy who, if you give him some confidence, you give him the basically the fuel that he needs to continue to race away from these guys, he's gonna do exactly that. So I was impressed with him. I was also really impressed with Julian Beaumer, otherwise known as Juju Beaumer. Like to get the starts that he's got, and honestly, just how KTM has cultivated that rider. And I give a lot of credit to Daniel Blair, who like recognized the skill, recognized the talent, the fitness, and the mindset, and then worked it, and has basically kind of turned around sort of the perception that a lot of KTM athletes, once they turn pro, really start to fizzle out. There is a laundry list of guys who were in the KTM amateur program who then turned pro, and really haven't made up with the billing, especially guys who stayed on that manufacturer, or a kind of a offshoot of that manufacturer, whether they went to Husqvarna, like Rockstar Husqvarna, which that team's going away. Troy Lee Designs KTM, then Gas. That team is going away. But it can be argued that both of those programs have struggled to help riders make that transition from amateur to pro. There have been some riders that had some success. Shane McElrath had success with Troy Lee. Same thing with Jesse Nelson. And Lord knows, if he hadn't had the injury that he had, there'd been a lot more success. But like I said, I'm not going to get into the list of all the guys who have sort of made it into the pros through that program and fizzled. But you can probably put in the comments who these guys are, and just like the fact that they really haven't sort of fulfilled the potential that they once had as amateurs. And one of them, who happens to be moving to Triumph next year, Ryder DiFrancesco, is going to get a brand new, fresh start again. I guess like this is now 2 years. He was on pro circuit for 2 years, and then he's going to spend 2 years at Gas, and then now he will. Is he at Gas for the 1 year? I guess he was only at Gas for the 1 year. To my knowledge, he's moving teams. So I think that's a great way for him to get a fresh start. Hopefully they've worked out a lot of the bugs that they may have had in that sort of the teething year that Triumph has had. They've obviously had some bike issues and some riders go down and just some things. Honestly, I see that as first year team, first year bike. Like by no means do I think that the bike is bad or the team is bad. I think that the first time you try anything with a brand new group, not to say they were new at racing. Bobby Hewitt has been running race teams for a long period of time. They've got great mechanics over there. They have great resources, but the first year doing anything is always going to be more of a struggle than other years. So that's just what I have to say about that. In regards to the rest of the 250 class, it's deep and it's showing it. And honestly, like this last weekend came down to starts predominantly. Aside from Hayden, who just like a knife through butter. See you guys later. In fact, at about the 12-minute mark of the first main event, I was like, I actually knew that he had won because I didn't watch it live. I watched it as an archive. I knew that he had won, but I had to watch. I needed to watch like how does he figure this out? Because at 15 minutes left, that's the start. At 11 minutes to go, I think he's in like sixth or seventh, and like yes, he appears to be faster than the guys around him, but Juju's gone at that point. And yeah, he reels everybody in. He gets the win. He goes 1-1, and now he's put a good gap on everybody. Tom Vial, not the best of days. He was kind of mid-pack-ish, like of the mid-pack top 10. He didn't show a lot of flashes. We did see some flashes from Lead by Kitchen. Hopefully that translates into some good rides in Texas this weekend. But in my opinion, this is the 250 class is Haiden Deegan's championship to win. He's in the driver's seat, and by all accounts, he seems to be not only the most talented, not only the most aggressive, but the most motivated guy on the grid. And not to say that these guys aren't motivated. All these guys have a ton of reasons to want to win races. They're competitive, but he just seems to have a little bit extra. And if anybody disagrees with me, I guess sorry. I'm just saying what I see when it comes to Hayden and his desire to be the top step of the podium every single time he races. So let's move on to the 65s before we get to the 50s, or the 450s rather. First of all, Carter Gray podcast comes out today that I did with him yesterday. The kid is an absolute stud. The fact that he jumped the finish line, not only in practice, but also in the race, to me, just that feat in general is impressive. Same thing with like what they were able to do in the rhythm sections and that huge double where they sort of jump onto, I guess that would have been part of the start straight away. The way they jumped onto that thing, and he's just basically sending it to flat on a 65, that Cobra must be something special because yeah, like it looked like that kid had all the power he needed to execute that. Now let's talk about the ruling to decide not to jump or to jump the finish line. Now, the AMA makes the rule, made a ruling that they didn't want anyone jumping the finish line. They didn't want to have a red cross. They didn't want to have any like unnecessary danger. Obviously, I think the better option in this scenario, rather than just saying you can't jump that, they should have made it unjumpable. And by that I mean either have a red cross flag going over it the entire time, or have a chicane built into the straightaway right after that. The I guess you call it that like a ski jump or the wall jump. If you had like some sort of a chicane or they had to go around something to make it not jumpable, that would have been a more effective way of not getting these kids to jump it, aside from just saying, hey, don't jump that jump. Because they're kids. And for Carter's coach to basically say, "Hey, jump whatever you feel like jumping." I'm not. I don't know the. I think his name's Chris. I don't know him at all. But I would say that that probably was not the best advice. Because it's against the rule, and jumping it would have resulted in a penalty no matter where he was in the race. Like same thing with Cooper Webb cutting 80% of the track out and jumping in behind the group that he was with. You can't do that. And obviously, like, it's cool that he jumped it, but he also gained an advantage by jumping it. And like, I don't think that can be argued. Is that like the kid behind, say he would have jumped it, then like because they were basically like right neck and neck, or they were right behind each other prior to jumping that. And Carter did get a little bit of breathing room by jumping that, and of course, all of the excitement that comes with jumping it and sending it into the whole place goes nuts. Honestly, I think it was the loudest cheer of anybody from the whole race. Honestly, I think that the crowd at ZMAX went crazy for Carter. You could see it in his body language. He was feeling it, and I think that was cool. But and I talked to him yesterday. He gained over 10,000 followers on Instagram in just the last like 6 days or whatever it happens to be. Probably less than that. The last 4 or 5 days, he's gone up 10,000. Let's see if he can continue that clip, because that's hard to keep going. But all in all, like to take a segment out of one of the shows that Mathis does with the re-raceables, who won the race? In the end, Carter Gray did not win the race on paper. He ends up getting third because of the penalty. But in the hearts and minds of so many, he still won the day. He's the kid who jumped it. He's the kid who ghost rode the bike at the very end there, kind of loops her out. More people left being stoked on that kid than they said they Joey Vakari, who ended up second on the day. And it's just the way it works. Like I was bummed to see that they took the win away, but now then when you understand that they weren't allowed to jump that jump, then you've broken an AMA rule, and some disciplinary action needs to be handed down. I think anyone can agree with that. 450 class. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Jett Lawrence comes back after 66 days removed from racing and did not look like he missed a beat. He looked fast. He looked fit. He looked as advertised. He did not look rusty in any way, shape, or form. And if that was a rusty Jett Lawrence, that's a big problem for anyone who laces up the boots and goes out there in the 450 class. He was extremely impressive. He ends up getting the overall win and edging his way a little bit closer to the points. The points lead is still Sexton for now. I think it's about a 4-point differential right now, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, Eli is also up there in points, although he would have been a little bit further back as well. But the fact that both those guys were able to beat Chase Sexton, I think, was a major statement from them. As I don't think I don't think a lot of people expected Eli to be up front and leading. He certainly didn't exactly show that in the two nationals that he rode. But honestly, I was extremely impressed with just how aggressive he was, the speed that he brought to the racing, and he just looked confident. Like he really looked like he could put the bike wherever he wanted, whenever he wanted. It was the Eli of old. And yeah, it was encouraging to see. Like I think a super motocross style track really complements Eli. Like not to say that he's not great at whoops. If there was a set of whoops, I think he just walks away from everyone aside from Jett Lawrence. But it was a clinic out there, and I honestly like I'll just say this: I like watching the racing or just the riding on an SMX track. The combination of the sort of different style of obstacles, the high speed stuff, the technical stuff is actually a really nice mix. I still love outdoor motocross. That is my absolute favorite. Supercross is also awesome. Although I find by the mid to late portion of the season, it starts to get a little bit cookie cutter. It's almost like you've seen this episode before when it comes to just watching the riding, and maybe because super motocross is different, that it sort of kind of pops out at me because it's obviously something that I haven't seen a lot of over the course of my enjoyment of the sport. But it's really interesting to watch these guys navigate the high speed sections and then flip it back around and end up going through a rhythm section where they're going 3-4-4 or whatever it happens to be. It's a really cool mix, and I hope they continue to do that. And heck, maybe down the road, the playoffs is not a 3-round series; it's a 5-round series, and like maybe they have the first round be regular points, and the second 2 rounds is double points, and the last 2 rounds are double points, or maybe just the last round is double points, and the like do something. I don't know. Maybe just like rounds 1 and 2 are regular points, rounds 3 and 4 are double points, and then the final round triple points. And like for those who are like, I don't really like the gimmicks, well, I don't know what to tell you. Like it's not my series. Do I think that I love the super motocross point structure? Not necessarily. It's not my favorite thing as far as the fact that you can have someone like really make up all kinds of points at the very end. It kind of diminishes the value of the previous rounds, but it's the final. It's supposed to be the big coup de grace. This is supposed to be the big final moment where anyone can win. There was at one point last year, Jordan Smith was in the running to win the championship for the SMX, and I think that would have been his first win of the whole year. But yeah, honestly, guys, I think that it's a good thing. So moving into to Texas, this has to be around where Chase Sexton really asserts himself into this fight, and I think he needs to get a race win. I think if he doesn't win the entire event, I think he at least needs to win a moto over these guys to reestablish himself, or at least establish himself as a guy who can win at this level in this discipline against these athletes. I think it would be a huge mental win for him. I think it would be just like a lot of wind in his sails. And if he's able to do that, then I think we're going to go right down to the wire with this championship, and it'll all kind of like culminate in Vegas, and it'll be a lot of fun. Appreciate you guys watching. Went a little bit longer with this than I really originally expected. I had some fun with it. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed watching it. If you did, smash the like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode of with Big MX Radio. You can also check out the podcast. I will be doing more podcasts on Zoom to be able to release onto YouTube as well, because a video component is probably the most important thing for growing as a media outlet. So just as far as like this day and age, obviously I love doing podcasts. I still listen to podcasts. So the audio component is something that I still value. But I do acknowledge that people love to watch the video. And yeah, maybe if it's just my talking head, maybe it's not your favorite thing. But I definitely plan on being able to inject some photos. I have some photos of my own from different events that I've gone to that I can sort of throw over as some B-roll or some video. I don't know what performs better, but I guess we're going to find out over the weeks and months and years that come. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I enjoyed recording it for you. And let me know in the comments what you thought. If I had an opinion that you disagreed with, let's talk about it. If you had something positive to say, which I probably doubt, I would love to hear from you guys as well. So have yourself a great rest of your day. Thanks for watching.